What is going on, YouTube? Northeast Ohio Sports Cards here for some basketball talk. Getting back to my roots. Today, I'm just going to lay it out kind of simply. Let's not overthink things in this wonderful, wild world of NBA basketball collecting / investing / flipping / whatevers. You know, sometimes we like to chase things. PJ Washington's going crazy. Kevin Porter Jr. is about to come back. Let's go nuts on his stuff. And we forget about just the bread and butter. So we're going to go boring today. We're just going to go steak and baked potato. Nothing fancy. And talk about just two guys. Actually, 2.5 guys. That, like, what are we doing? So, YouTube stuff down below. And then let's get into it. Like buttons, market movers links. Once again, we will be in market movers for the entirety of this video, looking at their wonderful charts and graphs. Discount code down below as well. And Amazon affiliate link. I never mentioned that one. If you need to buy something on Amazon, click the affiliate link. If not, that's cool too. All right, let's go. So as I mentioned, we get, caught up in the newfangled gizmo of the week. And sometimes we just forget about stuff. And it's kind of natural in the hobby. The money kind of moves around a little bit. It was ultra modern, Trae Young, etc., Ja Morant before the season started. Then I got bored with that and hopped on over to LeBron and Magic and Kobe and Jordan and Larry Bird. Justifiably so. Absolutely great players. And now it's starting to kind of shift back in the modern. We're seeing Zion go back up again. And I was looking at some stuff today and I'm like, what are we doing? I'm prepping mentally for there's a larger card show in Columbus, Ohio, this coming weekend. I think I'm going to make the trek to. It's not too far of a drive, but it's not right down the street either. It's a little bit of, it's like it's a day commitment to go there. Not the end of the world. And I was trying to get in what do I want to be looking for walking in the doors down there? So I was digging through some market mover stuff. And then it just dawned on me, especially once you look at the charts. And you could see the first one on the board, Giannis. Have you looked at his numbers the last week or so? And I think a lot of people just kind of forgot about the Bucks. They forgot about Dre. They're up there in the north, running through the woods, snow's down and stuff. And Giannis has been playing out of his mind. I know this is a dumb comparison, but what put this on my radar was I went to roster him in FanDuel the other night. And I looked at his game log just real quick, just to glance at things. And I'm like, holy smokes, this dude's on fire. And no one's talking about it. Yes, I know the Bucks, maybe they're not necessarily the favorite to win the East, but they're going to be in it. It's going to be them. It's going to be the Sixers and it's going to be the Nets. And anything can happen. Guess what? The Sixers have Embiid. He's extremely injury prone. The Nets have KD, extremely injury prone lately. Kyrie Irving, extremely injury prone and walk the earth prone. Who knows what could happen? If anything happens to either one of those two teams, it is wide open for the Bucks. And at the prices that he's at right now, I don't even know that they need to make the finals for you to make a nice profit. And I still believe to this day, though it did hurt his ceiling, that Giannis is a good overall, absolutely long-term hold. I don't mind holding him season over season. I don't have a problem with that. And I don't have a ton of Giannis. I have a BGS 9.5 of his Prism, but not much else. So it's on my list of things to pick up. So I ran his charts back to the beginning of the season. His base Prisms, now, this is a little outside of my price range, but a PSA 10 Prism, 4K, down to 3,300. It's down 15%. The PSA 9's down 20%. The BGS 9.5's actually hung pretty well, is only down 5%. Last year, during the peak crazy times, his PSA 10 was like a $6,000 to $8,000 card, I believe, at one point in time. It was way the hell up there. I know the BGS 9.5 was $4,000 for a fact because I have one. I remember. Part of me wishes I would have sold it then, but what are you going to do? No one knew that that was, the absolute crazy times, and I'm still fine with it. I paid $300 for it. I think I'm doing okay, even at today's. My thought here is at some point in time, as the money moves around the hobby, it's going to shift back to this guy and the next guy we're going to talk about. At some point in time, someone's going to be like, that Giannis stuff is way too cheap. That guy's playing out of his freaking mind. And everyone's going to be like, oh my God, Giannis. Last year, that's all we were talking about was Giannis. And yeah, he choked a little bit in the playoffs for sure. But the dude is still an outstanding basketball player, still a back-to-back MVP, still extremely young, and has the wonderful advantage of lower population counts on his cards. Like his base Prism PSA 10 is 2,400. That's not a ton. That is not a ton. And we can look at some of his other stuff too. NBA, or this is a select. If you want something a little lower price point, his select PSA 10 is down to 1,400 since the start of the season. That's actually stayed relatively flat. It started the season at 1,500. His PSA 9's down to 500 and the BGS 9.5's at around 800. One of these isn't sold for a couple days, so these aren't necessarily like hot off the press prices, but they're pretty close. But even his select, pop count 1,000, 1,100 on his select PSA 10. And that's a nice looking. I think his Hoops is a better looking card. We're going to talk about that one next. But this isn't a terrible looking card. And I feel like with Giannis, you want to stick with Prism Select or Hoops. Let's hop over to Hoops really quick, because Hoops to me is the interesting one. So this is the Hoops card for anyone aware. I think this is a great photo, a great looking card. I know NBA Hoops is kind of like the jank product of the NBA releases, but I actually think this is a really nice looking card. PSA 10 is down 5%. Started the season at 850. It's down to 800. PSA 9 is down to 285, down 17%. And the BGS 9.5 is down to $400. Like, I don't know. You're talking about running around buying PJ Washington. I keep going back to PJ Washington because he's been the guy that's been popping off this last week. Even like SGA, and I like SGA. Any of those young random dudes, when you're telling me I could get a Hoops BGS 9.5 for under $400. And I'm not a big BGS guy, but that's for submitting cards. I like buying their cards. I don't like submitting to them. Or a PSA 9 for 285, or if it's in your budget, $800 for a PSA 10. Just next time you're out shopping for something, like you're cruising eBay or whatever, and you're like, oh man, the next young hot guy. Or you're looking at Anthony Edwards rookies Prism pretty soon here or whatever, or a PSA 10 Anthony Edwards Hoops card that just hit the market, or LaMelo Hoops that just hit the market. Maybe look at Giannis for probably less than what you're spending. Hell, even Ja Morant. I love Ja Morant, and his PSA 10 Prism's down to about $400 now. But if you're telling me I can get a Giannis BGS 9.5 for $400 in Hoops, he's a 2-time MVP and on an Eastern Conference final winning team or contending team. I mean, that's seems like the better play to me, and that's coming from someone that absolutely adores Ja. So I'm just saying, I feel like the market has been sleeping on Giannis the entire season. There was a minute there when I was like, maybe we shouldn't be, but I keep looking at his prices and they just keep coming down. And I feel like at some point in time, someone's going to say enough. Let's move on to the next guy. And this one also 100% obvious. It's freaking Luka. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And Luka's actually, I don't want to say he's turned a corner, but he's coming around a little bit price wise the last week or so, because he's been playing out of his goddamn mind. He is the best young player in the league, and it's not even close. It is not even close. His PSA 10 Prism's down to about $1,300, $1,350. It's down 28% on the season. I said this in earlier videos when it was down around $1,200. I feel like next fall, September, October, whatever, We're going to look back, and I don't know if this is the specific absolute low point. Maybe it gets a little lower. I don't think it does, but maybe it does. I really think we're all going to be sitting around looking back at Luka prices, whether it's Prism or not. We're going to talk about some of his other stuff too, and be like, what the hell were we thinking? I could have got a Luka PSA 10 or 9 insert optic selector Prism back in January and February and March of last year for $1,200. My Lord, what was I doing? I just feel like that's something I'm saying. I just feel like I could see myself now in October of next year making a video and running the charts back a year, being like, man, remember when they were this cheap back then? Puh, stupid us. Should have been loading up. And I get like, hey, the Prism pop count's over 16,000. I get it. So don't chase the Prism. Go for the optic. Optic's down 11% and 20% on a PSA 10 and 9. I love the optic PSA 10. I have 2 of them, and I have an SGC 10. Actually, listen, guys, I'm not the biggest SGC guy in the world, but the all-white Luka optic base looks really nice in an SGC slab. And this is coming from someone that on SGC. But every once in a while, certain cards in their slabs do pop. I would be curious. And I'm not the biggest HGA guy yet. They got to prove it to me. But like that card and like a nice blue splash label at the top will probably look pretty good. So Luka Optic PSA 10, 3,500. That's it. That's not that many. $730 in a PSA 10. This was at its peak $1,000 card back when Luka was balling out. Actually, it was over $1,000. I think it was like $1,100 or $1,200 at one point in time back in the summer crazies. The good thing about Luka is you could buy him now. Maybe they sneak their way into the playoffs. They're hanging around. They might make a move at the trade deadline, maybe bring in Victor Oladipo, something like that. Who knows? Cuban's going to look to do something. And heaven forbid they win a round or something and his prices spike back up again, and then you could just flip it. You don't have to hold it into the offseason if you don't want to. If you don't want to tie the money up, you want to free it up to go chase Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray or Justin Herbert or whatever, which is fine. Or it's Luka. You can just sit on it. I think you're going to do okay. I love Luka long-term. I think he's one of the best. He's probably the best long-term hold in the basketball market, and it's not even close. Beyond like of the newer guys. You know, I'm not talking about like the LeBrons and stuff like that. So to me, Luka's Optic, PSA 10, Prism, whatever. Like I said, I get it. Like, you know, the high pop count thing on the Prism stuff scares people off. And once again, don't just stick to base. I use base in the examples because it's easy. You know, you don't have to run out and buy the base. Go look at optic hollows. Go look at purples. Go look at blues. Go look at discos. Whatever floats your boat. Yeah, that stuff could get more pricey. So I like to try to stick with base for pricing examples because it kind of applies to, you know, most people watching this channel should be able to go out and get a Luka PSA 9 for 200 and some bucks if they really want one. But if your budget level is different, then go look at optic hollows, PSA 9s or PSA 10s or prisms, silvers for that matter. And especially even more so, I've been talking about it a lot on the channel. I've been moving to targeting more lower population count stuff. So if I'm going to buy a base card, I want to buy optic or select versus prism in most cases. Now, the interesting thing with Luka, and actually it's like this with a lot of guys because select really got pumped hard over the winter by a lot of different people. Justifiably so. It's one of the nicer card brands. His select stuff is actually not really down. In fact, it's up. Once again, this is going back, same chart range, 12-20. Select Concourse is up 10%. And PSA 10. PSA 9 has remained flat. So there's maybe a little bit of a deal there in a 9. Premier is up 22% in a 10 and 17% in a 9. So, you know, you're not doing a ton there, but look at the population counts. Premier, and I know it's not the prettiest card in the world. The Pop 10, 488. That's why this and the Concourse has a pop of 1251 are actually maintaining value, I think. Select's gotten a lot of love, but when you have lower pop counts like this, you are less swingy on the prices. When you have 16,000 PSA 10s, it's a race to the bottom when everyone goes to sell, and it's harder to move that price back up again because they're always on the market. But there's nothing wrong with going with a Luka base prism. But I get it, not for everyone. Look at some of the other stuff. And same thing with select. If you don't want a base card, just go look for a silver, a blue, a tie-dye, a whatever. There's a billion different variations out there. One last one we're going to touch on really quick. And this is for the high rollers. LeBron stuff's coming back to earth. And within reason, obviously. When I say back to earth, we're not like just handing these things out. But specifically his Topps Chrome, which kind of dictates the entire LeBron market. So we're not going to go through every single LeBron card. But his Topps Chrome, and I ran this chart back just 2 weeks. So this is just going back to like Valentine's Day. PSA 10 down 15%, PSA 9 down 15%, PSA 8 down 10%, BGS 9.5 down 32%. So we could see the money being, this card shot way up, justifiably so, and now it's pulling back. And we see this all the time when something gets hot like this. It spikes way up to a new all-time high. In LeBron's case, it was like 40-some thousand for his PSA 10. And then it comes back to earth and re-flattens out at a new floor that was higher than the previous floor. So right now, it appears that LeBron is trying to find his new floor. So I don't know how much lower his stuff goes. And yes, I know that this is extremely high end to begin with. But if you're in the market for LeBron stuff, this is probably your window. It's going to level back out again. And it'll just kind of chill there for a while. And then at some point in time, it's going to pick back up again, probably around the NBA playoffs or right before. And the good thing about this stuff is I don't think it's ever like straight crashing, even if the market completely falls apart. Will it come down? Sure. But over the long haul, other than Jordan, this is probably the safest thing you could stick your money in is LeBron Topps Chrome. And obviously, once again, if you're a high roller watching this channel, go for the refractor or something crazy like that. If you're Sasha T or Gary V or whatever, and you got tons of money or tons of stuff that you could trade into bigger cards or whatever, do your thing. That's not for me. Unfortunately, I'm not at that level yet. But if you want in the LeBron, this next couple weeks is probably going to be your window, whether it's Topps Chrome or the Topps White Suit base or Upper Deck or whatever, go pick your poison. This is probably your chance because it's going to flatten out again, sit there for a certain period of time, and then eventually at some point in time, it's going to spike back up. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. It's the Don't Get Cute video. If you could go spend some money on the hot new thing in the market, sure. Or let's just simplify things and go back to the proven guys. That's all I got. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube stuff, like, comment, sub. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.